rodents. We can learn by studying rodents in that sense, as well as bone structure, so hips and knees and the bone joints. You'll then hear about a microsatellite, a technology demonstration that will be using a small satellite in low Earth orbit that is able to be commanded and requesting imagery for someone who's on the ground, and that communication path does not need to go through geosynchronous satellites. So it's a test of commercial off-the-shelf experiments and has some good applications on the ground for us. And finally, maybe the most fun one that you'll hear is a group of Boy Scouts here from a troop in Palatine, Illinois, partnering with NanoRacks, looking at cell mutation and how microgravity is going to increase the rate of mutation. So some really good stuff going on coming to us for the SpaceX Dragon launch tomorrow. Other good things going on in the space station program. Dan mentioned research, and he mentioned, for example, Peggy Whitson. Her stay was extended because of the availability of a seat on the Russian Soyuz. So her extension by 3 months has brought us to 4 crew members earlier even than we were expecting. What that does for us is it essentially doubles the amount of crew time that we can get from our ISS crew to devote to science. We already had all the medical and the maintenance and the systems and stowage covered, so that additional crew member is, that time all goes our way, goes to science. With the launch of the Soyuz coming up in September, that will continue our series of having 4 USOS crew members. That arrangement goes for sure through next summer. And then, like Dan said, we're looking ahead to the time where the commercial crew programs will be bringing US crew members for us. So part of the message there is we've got plenty of time now to do the things that we want to do on station. And if you're a scientist, we want to hear from you because it's a really good time to come back and work with us. There's some other things going on in the science world at NASA as well. Hopefully you've heard that there's an eclipse happening a week from Monday. The ISS crew is going to be able to see that eclipse as well. They'll be able to see it from 3 consecutive orbits. Their first orbit, they'll be flying over the Pacific Northwest. The shadow will not be on the ground yet, but they'll be able to see a partial eclipse as they go by. The second orbit, the crew will actually be orbiting up over Canada, but they can look toward their southern horizon. They'll be able to see the shadow on the ground somewhere around Kentucky and Tennessee. And then on their third orbit, they'll actually be able to see the most of the eclipse of their 3 passes. It'll be about 85% that they'll be able to see. The crew will have special filters and special cameras to look at the eclipse, and if you're going to look at the eclipse, you should have those things too. There are tips for viewing the eclipse on NASA's Eclipse website. It's eclipse2017.nasa.gov. And finally, a little bit of excitement right here. We're all hoping for clear skies tonight as well. We've scheduled a really good ISS pass to fly over Canaveral and KSC tonight. So about 9:33 p.m., be looking northwest. Be looking for something that looks like it might be an airplane on the horizon. It will grow, and this one's going to go almost straight overhead. After it goes overhead, it will disappear into the ISS sunset about 200 miles above us. So back to the purpose, though, of the briefing today. SpaceX Dragon, we're really excited about all the science that it's bringing, and it will bring home for us. We're excited about all that's going on in the ISS as well. So thank you.
Thank you, Pete. We now have a brief weather update for you from the 45th Space Wing Weather Squadron. Winds tomorrow are expected to be around 10 miles per hour. The temperature around 85 degrees. The only concerns for launch tomorrow are the cumulus cloud rule and then flight through precipitation. The potential of violation is about 30%, meaning that we are 70% go for tomorrow's launch. We'll now take your questions beginning here in the room at Kennedy. If you would, please raise your hand, state your name and affiliation, and to whom you're directing your question. We'll begin in the front here with Marcia.
Marcia Dunn, Associated Press. I think for you, Dan. Peggy Whitson's extra 3 months, how much has that pushed the boundary on what you're learning about long stays in space? And do you have when the next long-term astronaut might be? I mean, when's the next? Is 1 year cruise still in the picture, or how's that all?
Sure. Even Pete could help chime in as well, right? From a agreement with our Russian colleagues, those discussions are still ongoing. We don't have an agreement to stay 1 year. We are certainly pursuing that though with them. And as far as Peggy, I don't know if we really set up, in advance the 1 year protocols that we're looking to do. So the teams have been able to adapt to those as we've gone.